Persia, Iran today, is predicted by Isaiah to rebuild the temple and restore Jerusalem. Isaiah died in 698 BC. He is not mentioned in the Quran, yet King Cyrus, who lived from 580 to 529 BC, founded Persia by uniting the two original Iranian tribes, the Medes and the Persians. Although he was known to be a great conqueror, who at one point controlled one of the greatest empires ever seen, he is best remembered for his unprecedented tolerance and magnanimous attitude towards those he defeated. Dying in 698 BC, this is Isaiah, Cyrus was born 118 years after Isaiah. Yet Isaiah named him specifically that he would lay the foundations for the temple in Jerusalem. The concordance number for the word king is 4428. Beside it is the name King Cyrus. Confirmation by the prophet Jeremiah. 2 Chronicles 36, verse 22. Now in the first year of Cyrus king, 4428, of Persia, which is Iran, that the word of the Lord, that is 3068, spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king, 4428, of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, all the kingdoms of the earth hath the Lord God of heaven given me, and he hath charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up. We see then how Isaiah, who was born in 698 BC, 118 years before Cyrus was born, predicted the following from Isaiah chapter 44, verse 28. Thus saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid. The foundation is in Jerusalem today. The Jews today consumed by the Talmud and Torah, both works of the devil. Nod and pray at the Wailing Wall, unaware they are standing at the very foundation built by the Persian authority under the Jewish people, after the Jewish people were allowed to return from Babylon. Now Yahweh created the earth for man's pleasure, and man he created in his image for his pleasure. For this reason, when mankind has reached a knowledge, he predicted when he walked the earth as Jesus, knowledge would be increased as was in the days of Noah. The Bible, therefore, was a vehicle which he allowed to be dominated by evil and used as a weapon against him. Carried within it are codes that relate entirely to Yahweh's creation. Daniel 12:4, quoting, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And then in Matthew 24:37, quoting, but as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. End quote. What Yahweh is saying, he is coming as the Son of Man, a human being, the Comforter to teach you all things. Isaiah 44:28, quoting again, that saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid. For this reason, when mankind, this is a reiteration, when mankind has reached a knowledge, he predicted when he walked the earth as Jesus, knowledge would be increased, as was in the days of Noah. The Bible, therefore, reiterating, was a vehicle which he allowed to be dominated by evil and used as a weapon against him, Yahweh, carrying within it, the Bible, codes that relate entirely to his creation. Now, this is a quote. If the Marxist teaching were to be accepted as the foundation of the life of the universe, it would lead to the disappearance of all order that is conceivable to the human mind, and thus the adoption of such a law would provoke chaos in the structure of the greatest organism that we know, with the result that the inhabitants of the earthly planet would finally disappear. Continuing, should the Jew, with the aid of his master's creed, triumph over the people of this world, his crown will be the funeral wreath of mankind, and this planet will once again follow its orbit through the ether without any human life on its surface. And so I believe today that my conduct is in accordance with the will of the Almighty Creator. In standing guard against the Jew, I am defending the handiwork of the Lord. Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. Now, the only knowledge that Hitler had of the Jews was one child he attended school with. In his book, Mein Kampf, meaning My Struggle, he said the following: "You cannot be a Christian and a German, for God is within the German people." And he said that the German people could be debated, and logic and righteousness of the Lord, they would follow the Lord. As an adult, he debated with many Jews, concluding that their subterfuge responses were always promoting deception. Again, quoting Hitler, "It was only after studying the situation causing Germany's economic divide, I concluded the Jew had been the chief cause of all nations' problems, taking advantage of Christian ideals who had by church doctrine become the agents of the Jew." Was there any shady undertaking, any form of foulness, especially in cultural life, in which at least one Jew did not participate? On putting the probing knife carefully to that kind of abscess, one immediately discovered, like a maggot in a putrescent body, a little Jew who was often blinded by the sudden light. End quote. William Cooper, in his speeches, said after Washington had thought he had won the War of Independence with England, he and the English General Cornwallis met, apparently as generals did, after epic battles. Cornwallis told Washington that in 200 years, America would become the bastion of independence, unaware that they would be preaching the Zionist religion of the Jews, Judaism, under the yoke of the British Empire. Google search YouTube's Regions of Saturn. Cooper was shot. And then so was J.F. Kennedy. In his last speech, he knew he was committing suicide when he addressed the nation, pointing out the echo of the speeches of Hitler, not naming the Jew of Freemasonry directly. 939 days later, travelling in an open car, was shot dead. The bullet, an exploding missile which the CIA had developed especially for the assassination. The one bullet killing him, while the other bullets were of a type that would not, indicating several shooters were involved. His suicide speech was April the 27th, 1961. Then on November 22nd, 1963, there were two planets in conjunction. They were Venus, representing Baphomet, and Mars, representing war and death, or Freemasonry. Both overhead Dallas for 585 minutes. a combined total of 1170 minutes for Sun, 616 minutes of Mercury, the Messenger 589 minutes. The number 1170 in Greek concordance number is dinos, which means terribly, excessively, grievously, while the average for the 4 planets was 593.75 minutes. 5937 in Hebrew is rejoice, triumph, and 593 in Greek is reject, disallow. Kennedy's date of birth, the 29th of May 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts, USA. The date of death, 22nd of November 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Kennedy was 46.48 years of age, and in the Hebrew concordance, 4648 means to exterminating the idol. In Greek, it's to take aim at, spy, take heed, look at, on, mark. John F. Kennedy lived 16,978 days, 1697 in Greek is to live again. It's from the 698, and it also means Mars Hill, or the closest to Marshall, being the year also 698 that Isaiah died. He was murdered, sawn in half by Manasseh, which is America today, while Ephraim is Australia. The name means Bethlehem, where Christ was born for the second time. Need Yahweh say any more? He has had many attempts by the Mossad to kill him on a number of occasions. One after a canister of cyanide exploded in his face. The assassin returned to see Yahweh eating the remains of the red salmon where the cyanide had been put in. Finally, he said, "You are the Christ," to which Yahweh replied, "Well, who the fuck did you think I was?" Later, composing himself, the Jews said that we Jews will rule the world, to which Yahweh replied, "Firstly, you are not Jews, and secondly, you will be eliminated off the face of the earth unless you repent." Since then, Yahweh has been threatening all politicians of the beast, from the Queen on down, threatening with certain death, encouraging Iran to destroy Israel off the face of the earth and to level all synagogues worldwide. He has also instructed to eliminate all pedophiles sanctioned by the Vatican. Yahweh would destroy it with an asteroid, as well as all homosexuals, the CIA, Mossad, MI6, etc. Why would a loving God who had chosen Cyrus to build the temple to Yahweh in Jerusalem, and as Jesus said, to forgive them as they know not what they do?
Yeah, right.
Why? To demonstrate to the world that no man, no government, no religion can kill him. Relentlessly, Yahweh has challenged the world to kill him, yet all have failed. Now he stands before the world telling Iran to take out Israel. The Israeli army are completely dominated by an indoctrination that they are human beings and you are not. They, the chosen race. The reality is it is all a lie, and indeed they have been urging on the destruction of Palestine, supported by the Bible Belt of Christian churches, supporting the Jews, sending billions of dollars to do so. That's the Bible Belt of the USA. Yahweh has for the second time given Iran a weapon so powerful that once deployed against Israel, there will be no synagogue left standing in the Holy Land. The weapon is truth and will set all religions free of the subterfuge of the Jews who have controlled the churches via Freemasonry and the wickedness of it. Prophecy dictates Egypt, Syria and Iran will accomplish it. In the following slide is a military maneuver that is absolute. The Iranian forces move into the Red Sea, making its way towards Gaza, assembling along its border and coastline, presently dominated by Israel. Egypt borders Gaza and Syria moves along the coast. Yahweh has for the second time given Iran a weapon so powerful that once deployed against it, there will be no synagogue left standing in the Holy Land. This is a reiteration, once again. That weapon is truth, capital T, and it will set all religions free of the subterfuge that is deception of the Jews who have controlled the churches via Freemasonry and the wickedness of it. Here is the maneuver that Yahweh has outlined for Iran, Egypt and Syria. Swarm like bees, the people of Israel want peace just as much as everybody else. They want the Zionists out and gone. Once across the border, millions of soldiers start dismantling the Israelite blockade and start establishing Gaza as a safe haven of biblical paradise proportions, pouring endless resources into Palestine. Sheer numbers will dissuade the Israeli soldiers from attacking, as certain death will ensue. Iran has Yahweh's blessing to do what is necessary. Rockets fired over Jerusalem with exploding warhead packed with pamphlets of Yahweh's presence, and in doing so, the population, the vast majority, who deplore the Zionist domination, will welcome their own liberation. The Jewish people who seek peace and welcome home the Palestinians can remain. Those who do not will be tried by Iran and dealt with. In a trial situation, Yahweh will defend them on the basis of their genetic and religious insanity. Understanding the Quran is the corruption of Muhammad's truth, which Yahweh assures you all, of all religions. The Quran denies him by obsession and denies Isaiah and Daniel, the prophets of the Old Testament, as all are intertwined deliberately by himself to reveal a miraculous connection to each other by righteousness. The Torah itself is not, nor ever has been, a truth of past history. It is an abomination without end. The prophecies of Daniel. The code of Daniel's 2300 days has long mystified the Christian scholars, as they are consumed by the entire Bible, unable to separate the words that Yahweh spoke, the words of Isaiah and the prophets, from the abomination that makes desolate, which is the Torah. Yahweh reminds you that the Jewish community, believing they are God's chosen, when Isaiah had, and on Yahweh's bequest, chosen Persia via King Cyrus, giving him all the kingdoms of the world. The book of Daniel, Yahweh will now explain. As all things righteous are Yahweh's, all things hinge on Yahweh's physical existence. On September the 18th, just days ago, 2012, the Julian day was 2456188. Counting back 2300 days was June the 2nd, 2006. That was Julian day 2453888. 888 is Jesus in Greek gematria. At that time, Yahweh had yet to upload anything onto the YouTube. His first upload was December the 20th, 2006, when his youngest stepdaughter, Rhiannon, it was her 27th birthday.
I'd like to point out that the date of September the 18th is 30 years after the horrendous massacre in Beirut. And I was going to include it in this, however, I keep on being hacked, and we'll do that in another upload. But tomorrow, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is
Wednesday
at the UN, and tomorrow Netanyahu is demanding that the world go into a nuclear war.
Jewish New Year. Now, after that date, June the 2nd in 2006, 2018 days later, the solar system crossed the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. During that time, the beast was zeroing in on overcoming Yahweh by stepping up the mass murders of all people. The reason is not spoken about by any Christian or Muslim. The Jews are masters at stirring up both antichrist groups. The Christians who have their Zionist Freemason Bibles and the Muslim their Zionist Quran, and with it, its denial of Jesus as God, or the death on the cross with an imagined father, incapable of having a son, but not counting them, of course. Now, the day before I'd uploaded the video, it was the 19th here and the 18th in Europe and the USA. Yahweh had looked up the book of Daniel, never reading it through. He works spontaneously. So with that in mind, the Julian day number of 2453888 had come and gone June the 2nd, 2006. Now, he calculated to September the 18th, 2012, the date he'd handed the PowerPoint over to me to edit. Having hands like Dylan Pillay, he often makes typos and never looks back because he types so quickly. That is true. He leaves it to me. So, on Thursday, the 20th of September 2012, in our usual shopping venture at the Salvation Army Opportunities Shop, which is incidentally a racket, they have people donate all their goods and have volunteer staff. It's cash into the Zionist charity coffers, of course.
Now, I was going to say here, which I've taken out, there was a little girl, Mongoloid lady, baby, with her mother. And quite often we run into angels and they don't let us know until we sort of, I catch their eye and look at them. And this little girl, maybe, I don't know, possibly 12 months old. I'm playing with her foot and telling her how beautiful she was. And with a loud voice, she looked up at me and she called me Daddy. Mm-hmm. So we'll go into that later on, but because of this urgency and I've been hacked once again, I just wanted to mention it now. And then
it is already out there too, in the last.
Is it? Oh,
yes,
okay.
it's all there, including all of this. Now, going on to 838 pyramid inches, it is the height of the 24th layer of masonry, 66.9 British feet. It being the passage into the Queen's chamber. Below it is the descending passage entrance onto the 18th masonry of layer, 6 below the 24th, reaching into hell, levelling off into a natural chamber. In it, one could easily fall into a pit. That is representing Jerusalem today and hell. The Queen's passage is 1521.7914 pyramid inches, and to the far wall is 1727.8573 pyramid inches. And these two numbers identifies India and the Vedas, the Hindu Vedas. The word Vedas means angels.
1521 means to lead into the river of paradise on the earth.
The pyramid itself is the altar to the Lord, a Bible of truth, far beyond man's comprehension, constructed by the descendants of Noah. And it can only be understood by accepting the fact that you have all been dumbed down by religions, and each corruption in book form the cause of relentless suffering. The young who have stepped back see with clear eyes that religion is of the devil. This is why, as Jesus, Yahweh said that knowledge will be increased, meaning computers available to all the world so that the people of the earth can discern scholarly corruption and easily sort out the truth.
When I was in Canada in Port Alberni at that time, the internet was in its infancy, and I bought 16 computers and I gave them to the school children, and the Freemasons rounded them all up because in it was all this truth. Thousands of bitmaps and so forth showing what I'm talking about. And they rounded them all up and put them in storage. And then I was arrested and thrown into a forensic institute where I had to stay for 40 days, and they tested me with every conceivable device you can think of, and each one failed up. Doing an IQ test, they concluded that my IQ was unascertainable. I keep on telling them, well, what do you expect?
Now, imagining that you're in Egypt 4,900 years ago, a barren, rocky plain before you. You are of the lineage of Noah. His name means knowledge. Your task is to build a building so precise that no modern nation could duplicate it, let alone build or understand it. These giant, blue-eyed, white-bearded men, curly-haired, select a point on the rock and start excavating a shaft that would point to a star YBS 0286, yet to be named, invisible, and would not align with the shaft until God would be reborn on the 11th of January 1944 on the other side of the earth. Again. The shaft reaches 350 or so feet, over 100 meters into the rock, perfectly cut and as straight as a laser beam. Then stop at a precise depth, then be faced off, and then a shaft is drilled and squared, proceeding for 26 feet to burst through into a naturally formed cavern, massive inside, subterranean chamber. The length, 46.1 feet, equals 553.2 inches. Calculate by dividing by 1.00106 equals pyramid inches. So that would be 552.61422 pyramid inches. The width of 26.9 feet equals 322.45819 pyramid inches. And that is a total of 178,194.98 square pyramid inches, or 1237.4651 square pyramid feet. Now, in the Hebrew Concordance, 1237.4651
it's in Zechariah.
12:11. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimmon in the valley of Megiddon. And then from Job 37:16. Dost thou know the balancings of the clouds, the wondrous works of him which is perfect in knowledge? It is Armageddon. What then was Yahweh telling you? Dimensions excavated down a perfect shaft to pinpoint a time via the shaft pointing to a star beside the polar star Polaris in Ursa Minor. It is a sheep. The star YBS 0286, meaning a lamb, and yet so stupid in modern man's interpretation. They say the constellations has nothing to do with God who created it, while the little bear is not the lamb surrounded by man's imagination, creating religions so stupid that none can see it's all a demonic man-made evil, deception leading to Armageddon.
And what we have on the right there is a little bear, they call it. In fact, bears don't have long tails, but lambs do, and the shepherd will dock the tail off the lamb. Surrounding it by 120 degrees is Draco. Draco, of course, is the dragon of religions today, Zionism. That's what it actually is shown to be. And you see this bear with a very long tail. Well, obviously it's a lamb.
As of this moment, nations have sent their warships into the Mediterranean to participate in Zionist war games. The US nuclear carrier, the Enterprise, was to be scrapped, sent to England, then a change of plan and rearmed with over 4,000 crew, a sitting duck so that Israel can sink it and blame Iran, starting World War III, to destroy all life as well as their own, unaware it is a fallen angel war against Yahweh to kill Yahweh, and since he is in all of you, all life. Insane but true. The world of Western domination are all Satanists. It's that simple. Hitler was right. The earth would become a lifeless planet drifting through space if the Jews were not stopped. Hitler was a saint, his insight a gift from Yahweh himself to not destroy the Jews but save them and the whole world from their Talmud. Looking at the next drawing, we have an Ezekiel prophecy.
This is the descending passage. You see I've marked at 350 feet, a little bit more than that. And it comes down perfectly straight like it was cut with a laser, squared up, and it is pointing out into space at the Lamb, 286. It is squared off, and then a passage is bored through the rock and then bursts through into this gigantic subterranean chamber. And if you was to walk through without a light, you would fall into the pit. And this is what's happening in Jerusalem today. So Ezekiel is told to drill through the wall, which is what depicts here, into Sodom and Jerusalem, and that is what you see. Remember, this is 4,900 years ago. Ezekiel wasn't born.
Now, several years ago, Yahweh had placed a layout of the pyramid over Australia, the Earth, the Moon and India, which is the prophecy of Hinduism. These numbers, 1521 and 1727, etc., are latitudes across India. The Hindu religion identified as the chamber is unfinished. 838 pyramid inches is 69.9 feet. If we look at the passage, it is angled at 26.1897 degrees. If we then lay that flat as a map, we have a line pointing to Bethlehem through Gaza.
What I do is I look up the stars, I measure to the various planets and then read it. For example, a human being has 206 bones, and this is the width of the Queen's Chamber by 226 inches. If you was to grind a human bone up and pour it into a pile, it forms what is called a pi angle, and that's the exact same shape as the Great Pyramid. So there's the dimensions there. This is Lunation 206, which is of course why I did it. This is what it looks like, and you see I've overlaid the Great Pyramid over it, and we see the red line that is going into the Queen's Chamber. It passes through India. You see to the left there the Red Sea, and of course you'll notice that just below the King's Chamber is Iran. This is Thomas in India. That's why people think Jesus went to India, didn't he? Went to Glastonbury. It was 52 AD, and there's statues in the river that are saying that the man there was the brother of Jesus, Thomas, and the Brahmin priests. They already knew about myself dying on the cross because it's predicted by name 2,000 years before that. I'll show you a little bit of the Indian philosophy here. You've got this lady, beautiful drawings they have in India, to talk to people that aren't educated. And they know how to read these things. So you've got the first woman, the mother of all creation, and then you've got her aspects behind her and the various things that she holds. She's standing on a lotus blossom. There's beads around. Everything about her dress is a message. They don't know how to read. Here's another one that is showing the father figure with the Asherah figure. So this is on the right hand side of the picture. You see the head, and that has been cut off of the beast. Here he is, she's riding the lion. This is the Lion of Judah. And this is ourselves on December the 4th in 2010, wasn't it? Yeah. We went to a Hindu Christian wedding, and we bought the clothing we were wearing from Indian shops, and this is what we did to talk to the Hindus and the Christians together. Go ahead.
Okay, the next slide is another modern delusion. The Freemasons, measuring the pyramid, come up with the King's Chamber predicting World War I and World War II, an inch representing a year, or some such nonsense. And then the downing of the Twin Towers on 9/11, when all Jews were off work. Where were they? In the synagogue, wherever. Now, any Jew working, trading money would never attend a synagogue for Yom Kippur unless they knew it was to be destroyed. Now, no Jew, of course, was killed in the Twin Towers. They weren't there. They were given notice. Indicating the entire thing was a setup, and we see several manipulations. The Christ angles, they call it, does the same. The layout of the pyramid is laid along the 30th latitude. The descending passage points to Bethlehem. No, it doesn't. It points to Gaza and the long planned out destruction of the holy people who are the Palestinians. Notice that the 669, it is Bethlehem, as Hebrew 669 is Ephraim, which means Bethlehem. June the 2nd, 2006, Julian Day 888 to April the 1st, 2008, when I called Yahweh from Sydney and I had found the Christ while looking for him. It took me 9 years, and it was when I was sent a YouTube of one of his uploads that I knew I'd found him. That distance in time is 95.47 weeks, or 1.831 years. And there is the angle, 2618, with the line from the pyramid going through.
And 95 is the 95th day of the year, which would be April the 5th in Jerusalem. And I should add that this is on a calendar that was not available until 1582, when Pope Gregory the 13th established it by adding 10 days on the 4th, and the sunrise to sunset for Rome was 666 minutes, because they have astronomers, and they even have the most sophisticated binocular telescope in America, 8-meter lenses that look out into space, and this is a fantastically expensive telescope. And of course it's called Lucifer.
Now 1831, the number you saw there in years, in Greek means to spread abroad. And it's Gabriel speaking to Daniel from Daniel 8:14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. What are we talking about?
What they're going to do right now around. They're going in there.
Scholars lay out of the pyramid on its side like a map, saying it points to Bethlehem. No, it doesn't. It points to Gaza.
I should also point out that any book you can buy on the pyramid has been approved by the Zionists. You think I can get a book published? No way. So what we see here then is St. Catherine's in Sinai, to a location which is the Gaza Strip, then back to the Great Pyramid. Its total is 973 kilometres. Jesus found in 942 verses 973 times. What's at St. Catherine's, of course, is Muhammad's letter.
Okay, now the line to Yahweh's birthplace passes through the holy people, Gaza, and locating the baby crib in Bethlehem is based on a latitude of Lord 800, Jesus 888, and Christ. Add them all together, equals 3168. Therefore, latitude 31.68. The line ends along the 31.68 latitude by measuring in miles from the seashore, representing hell. The number of years that he lived from his birth to the resurrection as Jesus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, which is 33.799 years, equals miles. Where the line crosses the 31.68 latitude is the Jesus location, birthplace. It measures 433 kilometers from the pyramid, and 433 in Hebrew concordance is Almighty God.
The birth date was the 17th of June 2 BC. If you buy a book and it's got CE, current era, that means it's Jewish. They will not say BC, before Christ.
Or AD.
Or AD.
Mm.
So what we have here is a line from that crib to the pyramid, and it's 433 kilometres long. This one here is going to the Gaza. Now if you go to Google Maps, there is a dot in the centre of it, which is by the manufacturers of that program. And from that point to that crib is 49.18 nautical miles.
That's a reference. It's found in 1 Chronicles 5:13. And their brethren of the house of their fathers were Michael 4317 and Meshullam 4918 and Sheba 7652, Jorai 3140 and Jachan 3275 and Zia 2127 and Heber 5677. And the 7 names total 31101, which is the Julian day that Yahweh was reborn on. Julian day 24311101, January the 11th, 1944.
Now in the 50th layer of masonry is the King's Chamber and the antechamber. You measure from a step, that is the grand gallery, to the far wall. Then you measure 286.1, which is the displacement factor of the pyramid. And you add those two together. Then you measure to the ceiling and you add that number, 230 nautical pyramid inches, multiplied by a lunation, which is 29.53052, gives you 31101.
All leading to Isaiah 44 verse 8. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have not I told thee from that time, and have declared it? Ye are even my witnesses. Is there a God, 433, beside me? Yea, there is no God. I know not any.
Let's say you find the latitude, you see it at 33.799. You can round it, this is only a few metres difference, 33.80. So you're taking a line that is the same angle coming from the pyramid. And that gives you the distance, 33.799 miles. And where it crosses the 31.68 latitude, that is the crib that I was in the manger. So the pyramid to the birth is 433 by those numbers. Now mathematicians, you should have migraine headaches by now. The impossibility, but so. This is a letter to Muhammad, to the St. Catherine from Muhammad.
As a covenant to those who adopt Christianity near and far, we are with them. Verily I, the servants, the helpers, and my followers defend them, because Christians are my citizens, and by Allah, I hold out against anything that displeases them. No compulsion is to be on them. Neither are their judges to be removed from their jobs, nor their monks from their monasteries. No one is to destroy a house of their religion, to damage it, or to carry anything from it to the Muslims' houses. Should anyone take any of these, he would spoil God's covenant and disobey his prophet. Verily, they are my allies and have my secure charter against all that they hate. No one is to force them to travel or to oblige them to fight. The Muslims are to fight for them. If a female Christian is married to a Muslim, it is not to take place without her approval. She is not to be prevented from visiting her church to pray. Their churches are to be respected. They are neither to be prevented from repairing them, nor the sacredness of their covenants. No one of the nations, Muslims, is to disobey the covenant until the last day, the end of the world.
My niece and her boyfriend was travelling back into Morocco, where he is from, and he is actually a descendant of the kings of Morocco. They were arrested. He was thrown in a jail and then eventually ended up in some sort of confinement under drugs, etc. And while there, Gabriel took him up and showed him what was going to happen in the future, and that this woman that he was in love with being my niece, was the niece of Christ. She was back in Australia. She didn't know what happened to him. There was no communication, etc. And we was at the Catholic club where they have gambling and so forth for the Catholics, old ladies and retired people. And I said to her, would you like to find him? Do you love him? She said, yes, I do. I said, well, where did you last see him? She said, well, he's in jail in Morocco. I said, well, let's make a phone call. So we walked down and found a telephone that actually worked, because kids usually destroy them at every chance they get. Put a phone call through, and as it reached a place where they had frequented together, her boyfriend walked in the door and they got back together. Now, this was in London. He said that he'd been followed all over the place after he got out of the jail. They actually allowed him back into England, which is very odd. And he walked into this building and the phone rang and there he was. Miracle. So we've got the three sides of St. Catherine's Monastery to the Gaza, and then back to the Great Pyramid. And as I say, if you go on Google Earth and go to the Gaza Strip, you'll see a little dot there. And that dot is put in by the manufacturers of the software for some unknown reason. I thought it may have been a central located spot, but there's probably some satanic reason for it. So as I say, the St. Catherine's Monastery, and it is a triangular shape between the three locations, 973, it's actually kilometres. The number is the number of times that Jesus is found in 942 verses of the King James Bible. Now this week sees the 30th anniversary of the single worst atrocity during the more than 6 decades of the Arab-Israeli conflict. For 3 days between the 15th and the 18th, and that is why I was talking to you before. And it has been removed from my computer because they hack it all the time. So I'll just say a little bit about it. Up to 3,500 men, women and children were butchered in the Sabra and Shatila refugee camps off West Beirut. Their mutilated bodies, mangled bodies, were bulldozed into a mass grave. And this was witnessed by the West, who did nothing, and of course the Israelis was witnessing from the embassy of Kuwait. I bless Iran and thank Mohammed Ahmadinejad and the clerks for their patience. Brian Leonard, Lightning Marshal, the Almighty God. So we'll end it there, and we'll come back if we have time to do another one. So God bless you all. Or should I say, me bless you all.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Yes, Joel, just the news that the major the Zionist corporations are dumping their stock today. So that always preempts whatever their plans are to bring about their plans of catastrophe. And Jewish New Year begins on the 25th of September. This is why Netanyahu is pushing for World War III to begin on Tuesday, the 25th of September. While Mahmoud is in the United Nations at the 67th Assembly, he is due to speak on Wednesday. Well, Netanyahu's plan is to
They want the war going before that, and I have told the Iranians that if they even flare their nostrils, take them out. You might worry about little children and so forth in there. Well, it's not our responsibility, and I can assure you that what happens is the angels, like they did in Beirut, they take the bodies and take over the bodies, and the souls are removed. So although these atrocities occur, the children and the ladies and the men have been taken up. They're already gone.
That's the mercy of
That's
Yahweh.
the mercy. I don't allow anyone to suffer like that. So anyone who's been butchered or murdered and so forth, their angel just takes them over. That's why I mentioned the little girl we've seen in the Salvation Army. In the is it the Salvation Army?
Salvation Army.
It is,
yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
And that's why I mentioned it there. And the little girl looks up with a loud voice and says, "Daddy."
Daddy.
That's how they refer to me. They all call me Daddy.
Okay.
Let's see if we can stop this.
That's it.
وقت این که پیشش گریه کنم ندارم